Hello and welcome to Breakthroughs with Bree, where we are discussing all the topics that create extraordinary breakthroughs in our personal and spiritual development journeys. I'm Bree, otherwise known as Healing with Bree, and I'm a spiritual coach and Akashic Records channelers who helps sensitives and intuitives connect more deeply with their hearts, intuition, and souls, and teaches people how to process and alchemize the fears and beliefs that hold them back from living in their authenticity and purpose. You're in the right place if you like to hear about spirituality, psychology, healing, consciousness, manifestation, developing your spiritual and intuitive gifts, and living from your heart and soul instead of from your fears and ego. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Breakthroughs with Bree. Today we are doing a monthly forecast episode, and this is a really fun one because it is January for the new year, 2025. I don't think I'm going to do a full 2025 forecast, but we are going to pull a couple cards for 2025. And what I mean is last year I did like a whole episode where we did like spreads for every single month. I'm not feeling into the vibe of that this year. What I'm feeling like is I'm going to do a 3-card spread just for the vibes of the year. We might do some mid-year check-ins, whatever. And then we're going to let most of the episode be about how we can navigate the energy of January with as much ease and presence and growth and joy as we possibly can. And in these episodes, I use the tarot, but I'm plugged into the Akashic Records and into all of my spirit guides. Goes without saying that I hope that your holiday season has been magnificent, and I'm so excited to tap into the vibes to see what January has for us. Let's get started. Oh my God, I'm so excited about this. Oh my God. Okay, so I just went off to the side to pull the cards for 2025, and I was a little nervous because these cards for the full year, I'm like, oh my gosh, but like trying not to put pressure on it, you know? These cards are so good. Okay, let's talk about it. And by the way, you can watch this on video on Spotify or YouTube. If you want just the audio, I'm going to explain it, but if you want to see the cards and all that kind of stuff, you can watch it in those places. So the card of the year for 2025 is Major Arcana 21, the World card. Oh my goodness, what a serendipitous card. Also pretty positive, I feel like. Oh my God. Now, the other 2 cards that I pulled is what's something that we have to look forward to through our lesson of blank. So there's like 2 cards. The first card, what is we have to look forward to, is Major Arcana 14, the Temperance card. Beautiful. And then through our lesson with Major Arcana 6, the Lovers card. So first of all, we're fully stacked up with Major Arcana cards. And the way I interpreted this in tarot is that these are like big karmic themes, which makes so much sense because we're pulling cards about the energy for the collective over this year, 2025. And there are some big themes that we're going through. So let's tap into the guidance and I'll explain how I'm interpreting these. Okay, so first up, 2025 is the World card. These friggin' guides being so cheeky. The World is a card that has to do with completion. The closing out of cycles, last chapter of a book, tying up loose ends. It's like the culmination and having seen like a full cycle, a full process through. There's an air of sort of like soaking in the moment before something new happens, or maybe like fully reflecting on a cycle. And the reason why this is so crazy to me is because from a numerology perspective, this year that I'm recording this, and technically when this episode is coming out, 2024, was a year 8 for the collective, which has to do with power dynamics, authority, abundance, money, and it goes into a 9 year, which is the last number of a numerological cycle of like endings, completion, like literally very, very close themes tied with this 21 World card. So our collective numerology is a 9 for everybody for 2025. And the tarot says the vibes of this year for us is the World card. Oh my gosh. Talk about synchronicities, talk about repetition, very serendipitous. Okay. Now, what we have to look forward to, Major Arcana 14, the Temperance card. So this card has to do with respite and healing and finding balance. This does feel like it's going to be maybe kind of like a healing heavy year, or maybe where we take what we've learned from like intense or crazy experiences and finally apply them back to ourselves so that we can feel relief and we can feel change. We might find ourselves taking a step back for a minute, maybe being a little bit more like reflective inside. I also really like the image on the traditional tarot card, and it's also true on this card to the little angel wings of this little otter because I'm using my animal deck. But there's an angel at like a stream getting water. And I also find when this temperance card comes up in sessions that I do, that there's like support from our guides. Like the angels want to come around you and they want to help support your healing. They want to direct like healing energy and peace and wisdom about how to do perspective shifts and protection and release. Like they're really around you trying to feed and trying to supplement this period of respite and healing that the temperance card refers to. Now, the other thing is too, is that there's also an energy of being balanced with the temperance card. I like to think of balance as sort of like the opposite of being in extremes about things. So either us being like all or nothing or repressing things or being like almost of singular focus or like of singular mind about something. I feel like this year is going to challenge us into a new level of spiritual and emotional maturity. And part of emotional and spiritual maturity is holding complexity and not needing things to be in a binary, aka good and bad, black and white. Right? The more we can let that go and see shades of gray while still holding on to what feels true and authentic for us is when we're getting sort of further along in that journey again of spiritual and emotional maturity. I'm really thinking of how the collective divisiveness manifested through politics in 2024. And I do feel like there were a lot of people that were starting to see that, yes, these extremes manifesting isn't great, but almost kind of see past that too. Like we are all humans who have been like literally egged on to think that it's like life or death if one thing happens versus the other, and then been spoon and strategically fed information that continues to generate divisiveness on some level. But at the core of it, we're all still humans doing what we genuinely believe is best for ourselves, for our families, right? And so how can we be a little bit more tempered in how we're looking at things? And again, this isn't to give up what we think is really important or what we feel is true or what we feel is good, but how can we not be so tempted by how enticing it feels to judge people as good or bad and just put them in a category of black and white? How is that playing out in your life that has nothing to do with politics? Are there certain behaviors you're putting in categories as that's altogether good, that's altogether bad? I can't do any of this, I must do all of this, right? Are there people that you're struggling to identify the bad in them while also seeing the good? You know, like where are we feeling like we have to resort to extremes? And I wonder how we're going to learn to be a little bit more temperate, a little bit more balanced, a little bit more fair in our approach to situations, especially like emotionally, because there does really feel like there's kind of like an emotional and spiritual element to this temperance card. So that card represented the question, what is something we have to look forward to this year? We are really going to have the opportunity to grow in this energy of temperance. And the way that we're going to learn how to grow through that is through Major Arcana 6, the Lover's card. I say over and over again, the Lover's card is one of the most fortunate cards that we can get. And I'm so happy to see it in this spread. So classically, the Lover's card can be interpreted as a literal romantic relationship and partnership. Even if you're watching on video, this card is so cute. It's two little otters and like a little heart between them. It's so nice. So the Lover's card, classically, most obviously, like literal lovers. Okay. But this can also refer to wherever we have loving commitments, wherever we have devotion to something, wherever we have like long-term, lifelong commitment to something, right? Where our heart is like literally devoted to something or to someone. Right? The Lover's card can come up when we make that kind of lifelong commitment or long-term commitment to something. And therefore we are in that devoted relationship with that thing. It could be a career. It could be to being a parent and your kids. It could be to getting a pet and being devoted to their care and to loving them through their life. It could be through, I don't know, maybe buying a house in a city and it feeling like it's representing your sort of like marriage to this city for a long period of time. Like there's so many ways that we sort of like marry our energy or our intention to certain things that we connect with. And the beautiful thing about this Lover card is that experience of us trying to navigate as a human, being devoted to and loving to another person, while also being loving to ourselves because that's how we show up as the best partner, that process is extremely triggering. It spurs some of the most growth of anything that we could experience in this life through relationships, through attachment, through that connection and trying to navigate that connection with other people and other things. Again, you can think of this through like a literal relationship. Like I could tell you through my commitment to my husband and through the way that the situation of being committed in marriage to him has challenged me to handle situations in a certain way. Like if he had just been a boyfriend or a partner, I might have approached those things differently. Maybe if I hadn't had that idea of like we are lifelong in it together, and if I was just thinking of it as this could be now, could be passing, whatever, like that has challenged me, my mindset, my approach to come to the situation differently, to try and be more creative, thinking of solutions and thinking of resolution. It's challenged me to be more vulnerable. It's challenged me to be more compassionate and to push my mind for how I can put myself in another person's shoes. It's pushed me again to think creative about our long-term stuff together, right? And I just use this as an example because again, like the experience that we get to have when we put ourselves in a position to be devoted or committed to something sets us on a track for growth inevitably if we stay in that loving commitment to it. So I wonder if this year we are going to be challenged to access like actual divine love, learn what it means to be unconditionally loving to people, not martyrs, not attached, but actually like unconditionally loving to ourselves and other people through our commitments this year, through our relationships this year. That feels like, yeah, the relationships part especially is going to be a big place where we have the invitation to grow. And as you guys all know, where we have the opportunity to grow tends to be places where we get triggered a little bit. So I do feel like relationships and maybe even like how we put people on a pedestal in our lives that we have some kind of relationship to, or again, maybe where we're in extremes, coming back to this temperance card, like maybe it's kind of like all or nothing, or we don't know how to see people for both the good and the bad, or, you know, again, wherever that black and white thinking might be showing up in relationships specifically, if maybe like that's not going to work anymore. And if we want to maintain relationships, or at the very least, we want to try to approach them in a different way that's led from our hearts to give it the best chance to continue, like we've got to learn how to be a little bit more temperate and heart-centered and soul-led. Yeah, that's going to be like a big playground for learning and for closing out a lot of these chapters, coming back to the world card, right? The world card again is completion. Cycle done, check mark. Let me like be in this moment of really reflecting and feeling that sense of completion, letting that settle in me, the wisdom of what's happened, the perspective of what's happened. Let that like settle and integrate into me before we really turn the page into a new chapter. Whereas 2026, from a numerology perspective, is a year one, which is the start, literally the start of a new cycle. All of that feels incredibly powerful and very exciting. Wow, I'm amazed by those cards. Thank you so much, Akashic Record Keepers and Guides. All right, now let's talk about the month of January. Specifically, we're going to do an energetic forecast just for January, and I'm going to leave you with some final channeled messages and thoughts for how we can navigate the energy of just this month. Okay, so for the top of it, I pulled a card that is what is the energy, the theme of January. And we had fall out of the deck the 9 of Cups. Again, a very fortunate card. This fun deck that I have has a little genie coming out of a cup. And this is very fitting because the 9 of Cups is like a wishes fulfilled, the world is your oyster, like you can have anything that you want kind of energy. It's a very, very fortunate card. But the trick about the 9 of Cups is it's about your attitude, your emotional state of being, and your perspective on what's happening that's magnetizing blessings to you. So there is a little bit of work for you to do in terms of getting your mind and your feelings right about things. But here's the good news, is getting your mind right is looking at how wonderful everything is for you. All of the ways that you are currently so freaking blessed, all of the ways that you are so fortunate, feeling deep gratitude, deep satisfaction, deep joy, deep contentment, deep peace with all of the ways that your life is wonderful right now is the energy that acts like a little genie granting your wishes. That is the energy of the 9 of Cups. That's the energy of January. To me, I'm kind of interpreting this as like, you're gonna get what you put out there. Like how you choose to look at things is exactly what you're gonna be able to magnetize to you. So be mindful of your emotional state, which is generated by your thoughts, because it feels like it's really going to have a lot of power and influence over what comes at you in January, but this has the potential to be very good. The next part of this is similar to what we did for the year, which is what do we have to look forward to through our experience of, and then the second card. So we have the Page of Swords to look forward to through our experience of Major Arcana 9, the Hermit. And then finally, I do a spread about like what's like the arc of the month, like the plot for the month. And I'll finish up talking about that. But let's talk about this Page of Swords and the Hermit. So the Page of Swords is a very curious, like intellectually type of energy. It's asking questions. It's maybe a little social. It's giving like Gemini, you know, like, oh, what's going on here? What's going on here? What about that? What about this? Oh, that's a good idea. But what about this? Like, it's considering a lot of perspectives. It's considering a lot of ideas, approaches, methodologies. It's considering people, different situations. It's in the suit of the mind and our thoughts, but it's very open. It's very flexible, and it's very curious. It's kind of like a lighthearted energy. I love this for the beginning of the year. I mean, I love this anytime, but I especially love this for the beginning of the year because it gives us an opportunity to kind of like open up our mind to what wants to drop in. And when we fuel that with additional curiosity, like, wow, our joy and our wonder and like how we resonate with things leads us exactly to where we want to go. But we have to be open-minded enough to do that. You know, we have to be curious enough to seek out and let in new types of information. Now, where we're having that experience is when we're really in a 9 season, which again, the year is 9, crazy, which is the Hermit card. Numerology 9 is what I was referring to for the year. Wow. So the Hermit talks about when we've gone through some shit and we need to take a minute to step into our own space to really process what's happened and to find our way and our truth within ourselves. A lot of times we can get stuck looking outside for answers or looking outside of us for people to validate something or to help us make sense of something or to just like give us answers. Right? The Hermit and its lesson is sometimes we need to take a little space. We need to take a little time and a little quiet stillness to find the answers within ourselves and to help like piece things together and process things. It's a very healing type of card. It fits very well with that Temperance card, like kind of taking a moment for reflection and healing. Vibes are very similar. The Hermit just emphasizes the solitude of doing that. So there might be a period of time this month where you kind of need to step back intentionally, wherever you can in your schedule. It doesn't have to be like all together ghost everybody, but like creating intentional pockets of solitude, of space, of quiet for you to come into yourself and ask yourself how you feel about things. Ask yourself how you think about things. Ask yourself how you feel about certain ideas, about what you want, what feels true, what doesn't feel true. And in that space, it feels like maybe this Page of Swords energy is going to come up where it's going to feel more accessible to you. Now let's look at the plot arc for the month of these cards, okay? Feels like we're coming out of December and into January with an Ace of Wands energy. Then we're going to feel some 8 of Wands energy. And then we're going to end the month with a 5 of Pentacles. Woof. Let's talk about it. The Ace of Wands is the start of the wand suit, and the wand suit has everything to do with passion and excitement and inspiration. It's very closely aligned with fire sign energy. So it could be the spark of inspiration. It could be a new creative idea. Something sparks, something opens up, something feels more activated and available to us that makes us feel like on fire for life, that makes us feel excited, where we feel passionate, right? It's that like fire energy feels a little bit stronger in us as we start the month, as we come out of December into January. Again, we might feel really inspired about goals that we have. We might feel like our cup is really full after spending time with loved ones, or maybe time with loved ones didn't go well and it really lights a fire under our ass to do some healing work so it can feel better. Or maybe the way that 2024 went is something that you reflect back on and you think, wow, I really want to keep doing some of these things. Or I really didn't like how that went and it's really motivating me to work towards something different. I have a whole episode coming up on how we can look at goals a little bit different, more from a soul perspective versus from an ego perspective that just uses goals to punish us and to be punitive, and how goals can actually be something that support us and is inspiring when we look at it from a soul perspective. So keep an eye out for that episode coming next week. But we're feeling motivated. We're feeling inspired for sure with this Ace of Wands energy. And then we come into the 8 of Wands energy like midway through the month. This is great news. The 8 of Wands is about momentum, baby. movement. Things are moving quickly, okay? It might feel like there's a lot of change. It might feel like falling into place. It might feel like opportunities come out of nowhere, but you being aligned with something that just makes you feel excited and expansive, I feel like it's opening you up to some energy that just wants to rush in and make some things happen for you, right? Some of you might be physically moving. That's definitely associated with the Eight of Wands. Some things just might be moving more quickly, or there might be more momentum to things, and that's great. Sometimes when there's like a natural like flow of energy that like boom, 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 makes stuff happen is great. Just allow it. Sit back and be like, all right, I'm trusting how this is going, right? We've all been in a time where there's been an ebb and it's been slow and we wish things had moved. And just remember that for when things feel a little bit busy, because it's how everything balances out, right? Again, balance is a big word of the year. Allow this moment that balances out times when it feels a little bit slower, because it's, again, like catching a wave of energy in the universe, right? It feels like some things are getting moving midway through the month. Now, the end of the month, Five of Pentacles, okay? The Five of Pentacles kind of has a bad rap, and I want to talk about why, because it doesn't have to be the end of the world, but it does have a little bit of a tough energy, and I don't want to spiritually bypass that, okay? The Pentacles is the suit of our material life, okay? So the areas of our life that it's most closely associated with is our money, our resources, maybe our home, our career, or our physical health. Okay. And the Five of Pentacles indicates that there's maybe some sort of loss or some sort of hardship that's happening as it relates to one of those things. So what this would tell me is maybe you get a little sick, you're under the weather. Maybe there's an experience where things with money or resources, is a little unfortunate. It doesn't go exactly the way you want. It feels like there's some sort of loss. Maybe it's an opportunity with a job, like who knows? Okay. But this does indicate to me that we are experiencing some sort of like, when it comes to our material life. Akashic Record Keepers guides, what do you want to share with the collective about this? They're saying allow this. Interesting. For it to show up in this kind of reading, it feels like this might even be a little bit more on a collective level. Like sometimes things just need to bubble up to the surface to like really be released. This feels like it might be one of those things collectively. Like there's just this kind of like collective bubbling up, and it just has to come to the surface to move out. Right? And all of these things are only ever temporary, and they're really just information that we get to use as we intentionally move forward in creating what we want to experience. So if we do have a time of a little bit of hardship or loss, we sit there, we look, we learn, and we adjust moving forward. Like that's the vibe, right? So I feel like there's nothing to be afraid of. I'm going to say that again. There's nothing to be afraid of. But I do feel like on some collective level, some energy needs to surface. And it's just a little bit inevitable. Guides, what else do you want us to know about this? They're saying there's also this idea of reprogramming where our safety is really coming from. As humans, it's very natural that we want to feel physically, materially safe first. That's like the bottom of Haslow's hierarchy of needs kind of thing. Like our body or our primal brain needs to feel like we're safe. But we have all these things that we've attached to what will keep us safe that aren't really it. Okay? And in like a 3D perspective, maybe, but when we start to integrate like 5D soul level truth into it, that's not exactly the answer. And I feel like there is going to also be an opportunity for you to redefine what safety really means to you, what stability means to you, where you can find your peace. Like where are you attaching and anchoring your peace to? And is it on something outside of you and is flighty as, I don't know, whatever it might be? And is there an opportunity to shift that? Can you go through some kind of loss and see that you were actually okay the whole time? You were safe the whole time? That you could be peaceful during the whole time? You could actually make that whole experience a lot easier by not punishing yourself, by not catastrophizing it, by not assuming that it was going to be around forever, by not making it some character default of your own, and just having a little bit more of like an objective, detached but honest perspective that allows it to flow through, and where you still feel at peace that everything is going to be good and that you're still good. Is there that kind of experience for you to literally anchor in by practicing it, right? Or maybe if this is more of a collective thing, which it is kind of feeling like it is, can we not attach our stability mentally, emotionally on what's happening out there? Can we stay steady and regulated even if the world is dysregulated? Maybe it's an opportunity to practice that. That feels like a big one. What that looks like is, maybe not going to the extreme of burying your head in the sand, but also like knowing like tomorrow I'm still going to wake up, I'm still going to brush my teeth, I'm still going to go to my job, I'm still going to make myself lunch, I'm still going to probably have to go to the bathroom, I'm still going to tuck my kids in at night. Like things are going to go on. And can I stay regulated in my nervous system and in my perspective while maybe, opening my mind to the fact that things are changing, or if there's something new I learn or some new way I feel like I want to engage with my community, cool. But like me, myself, and I'm still good. Maybe it's going to be an opportunity to practice that sort of thing. And really, we can be practicing that all the time. But again, it feels like when this Five of Pentacles energy kind of comes up, this is a great opportunity to practice those things. All right, Akashic Record Keepers and Guides, are there any other final thoughts or messages that you have for the group here? They're just saying really stay connected to your heart. It can be easy to kind of jump up into your mind at this time of the year when we're thinking about goals and whatever, and just keep acting from your heart. Learn what that means to act from your heart if that feels a little bit nebulous to you. Look to your heart for answers. That feels very Hermit card coded, and also Lover's card coded, because the other thing I didn't say about the Lover's card is, again, we have a portal to understanding the universe and divine love through that exercise of being committed and devoted and loving to a person here as a human. So is there anything else? Akashic Record Keepers and Guides? They're showing me a little bit of physical activity. January especially that first part of January, might be a good time to get out and go for some walks or do some at-home workouts if you're in a place in the world where the weather is not great. Really the fresh air, maybe some sunlight, and the circulation of using your muscles and your chest. There's something about that feels like it's going to be very supportive with the energies that are moving through in January. Very positive in terms of how they affect everybody. And if you want to hear more about how your little actions have the opportunity to not only gain you more abundance, but impact more people, I recently had an episode come out called Your Energetic Bank Account. It's only a 20-minute episode. It's one of my favorites that I've done so far. It is so good for understanding a different way to look at all the different ways that, again, you can build up abundance in your own energetic bank account, and for understanding how much value your own thoughts and state of being has for the world, which I think is something that's really cool to think about and to understand in general, and especially going into the new year. With that all being said, I'm so excited to start off the new year with you guys. If you're interested in doing a single session with me where I'm channeling into your Akashic records and soul contracts, or maybe I'm doing a personal forecast with you with the tarot, or maybe doing some manifestation coaching and energy attunement for you, those are all sessions that you can find on my website to see what is available. I tend to only open up a handful a month, but I wait to open them up until right before the start of the month, so there's a good chance that there's some open this month or next month. Also, I do have some more one-on-one coaching spots available, and I have a scholarship that's going where if you apply, you have the opportunity to get 70% off the cost, the investment of doing one-on-one coaching with me. It's the same VIP soul-powered one-on-one coaching program that anybody else will get. But you get it for 70% off if you apply. So if you didn't know I was doing that and you're like, wow, I would love the chance to work with you and now this makes it a possibility, please go check it out. Please apply. I would love to work with the people who are able to come into the container with that opportunity. And let me know if you have any questions. I'm so excited to see what this year is going to bring. I'm excited to see what this World card's going to mean, what the Temperance card's going to mean, what the Lover card is going to mean, and of course all the energy for January. And I hope it's a good one for you all. Let me know how you like the episode, and I'll see you next week for more breakthroughs. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Breakthroughs with Bree. But before you go, please take a moment to either rate and review the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it, or share this episode or maybe one of your other favorites with friends or loved ones that you think might enjoy or benefit from this content. Both of those things help more than you know, so that I can keep creating these episodes to help us all have more breakthroughs. Remember, you can connect with me on social media, sign up for my email list, hear what products, services, or events that I'm currently offering, all in the link in the show description or by visiting my website, healingwithbree.net. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support and for the time that you're taking to heal yourself and align more with your beautiful soul, as it helps us all so much more than you realize. I'll see you all next week for more breakthroughs.